welcome back and thanks for staying with us. We're discussing a very heavy and emotionally vested topic, the idea of IVF, the stigma, the support people don't get, and the shocking statistics in the decline that happens to both male and female. Because we don't capture that even the sperm count and the quality of sperm also loses quality as people get older.
Yeah.
So
what you mentioned,
and because there's a question from what Tokwe said from Moses Ade. He says, my question to our guest is, with this knowledge of hers, what would age will she recommend women that want the business of childbearing?
Well, I advise before 35. Before 35, if you can, before 35. And if you can't, at least you know what you're up against and you'll be prepared.
But, you know, we're in a world where most conversations of getting married and childbearing, we're not talking about ladies doing things when they're more mature.
Yes.
And more mature means that you're age, you have spent years.
Yes.
But you then start a journey and you find out, you know, you should have started this journey because you're all peculiar. You should have started your own, with your own condition and what is in front of you much earlier. So are we not, you know, confusing ourselves when we set the time?
Yeah.
When I was much younger, the conversation had already started that you can marry early. And most of us were looking forward to finishing a degree, and even though you have the support in your own family, my own family disposition is that once a man is well-to-do, the girls do not have to go older. But we had become exposed and we're thinking this was right until I was sitting in a fertility clinic and thinking, I just done this thing early. And I was looking at all the women were around and like, nobody is talking about this. It is shame when somebody says, for my child, we would rather start early. I have a friend who was an only child to her mom. Only child. The day she got pregnant, she was about 19 when she got pregnant for her boyfriend. And her friends, her mother says, I know my condition. She's been, I don't know if her mom is still alive now. She had almost all her first 4 children for her mom because all the children, grandma man bang money.
You see?
You know, because she knows what her medical history was and knew what her daughter was up against. This girl, when we were much younger, was even overweight as a young girl. So are we not confusing people by setting the standard for women to be, no, it's not in your
after
face.
you're a graduate,
you must graduate, you must have business. A woman, no, there's a word, Morale ni Montasi.
You have to be matured before you get married. You have to know yourself.
It's not the business.
You don't know yourself.
Whereas it might just be your own business, in your own medical history, to do it at 18.
But I think you should re-emphasize what you said, which is people need to know their medical condition. Ignorance is not
very important. You know, we also we are living in a culture where women are expected to bear and endure pain. Many girls start their periods painfully. I started my period at 10, and from day one, it's crippling pain, you know. And as I grew older and then got fibroids, it became worse. Every time I'm menstruating, I mean, the only time I fainted in my life was when I was on my period. So I learned that I have to always have my medication even before it starts to start to arrest it. Otherwise, you know, it just cripples me, you know. So my point, back to what you're saying, there are so many things happening in a woman's body that people think is normal. You know, this is the life of a woman. This is the so. We don't even know you're supposed to see a gynecologist. Period pains that are crippling are not normal. Somebody needs to check and see what's going on in there. So when we start by being proactive and having positive health-seeking behavior to check our daughters, ensure there's no endometriosis, there's nothing funny going on there, then it helps them to also know that they need to take charge, you know, of their health. And talking to you about the confusion, I think the message here is give women the autonomy and the empowerment to decide what is best for them. Everybody knows their capacity. No, it's not just even about body now. People know when they're socially, mentally, financially ready for marriage or motherhood. And for all you care, many women are also coming up to say, you know what, I don't even want to have children. We stigmatize them too when we have such categories. So we're not confusing them. We're empowering them to say, decide what is best for you, but know the limitations of your biological clock. Because when you know that and you keep it in view, it helps you decide and make some certain decisions at some certain times.
Have the pressure of society to have kids.
Yes.
Whose families understand.
Yes.
But they have the goal They feel
and it's okay, and it's valid.
Forget the community. You know,
and
you
it's
mentioned,
valid.
like you have shared so much to us today, honestly. And I just don't want anybody to forget the things you've shared. Going through the waiting shouldn't be done alone.
Yes.
Get a community, find
that is trusted and supportive.
Counseling. Yes, you need counseling, therapy, people that will listen to you and can support you.
And not judge you.
Women shouldn't have to go about it alone if they are married. Let the husbands also be involved.
Emotionally.
Actively involved.
You spoke about knowing your medical condition early.
Because
the longer you wait, the more challenges.
I know, say families for young girls.
Yes.
If someone had just taken me to the hospital when I was going through,
yes.
I just knew it wasn't normal out of 4 girls that
yes.
I was
you're having so much. Yeah.
So
every
time
parents,
you have a child, take your
when
child
your child starts menstruating, be interested to know the pattern.
Yes.
Right. If there are some red flags, if this child is always crippled or in pain or whatever that is abnormal, or even bleeding longer than the normal range of 5 days. Because I was bleeding for 12 days at some point.
Wow.
I was having, I didn't used to, when I travel abroad is when I buy my pads, because I don't have the right kind of pads available for me. So it's a problem,
Getting informed.
For getting informed and knowing what is normal.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
How expensive is surrogacy?
Okay.
I won't be able to put a price tag on it because it depends on the clinic and it depends on who
there are
and
plenty
the
factors.
terms.
Is it your
But I can
egg?
say
Is it
that
your
it's not cheap.
If you are buying the egg, you can be buying the sperm. You pay for the person. You pay for the medical treatments. You are paying for the IVF plus.
But let me say something that I learned from one of my fertility champions. Don't be overwhelmed by the cost because they are instrumental. If you get your information and prepare, because I feel like everything in life is planning. If you plan that I want this, it will come. But you don't need to have all the money together at once because treatment takes place at, it's a process and in stages. So if you need 100,000 today for this step, you gather. If you need 500 for the next step, you gather. Take that leap of faith and also get trusted people who can work with you and help you.
Okay, but I would just like to cap up with IVF, surrogacy, adoption. What do they have in common?
They're all alternative paths to parenthood that should be encouraged for those that it's meaningful to.
Thank you so much. On that note, we round up this segment. We can never stop talking about things like this. I want to normalize the conversation in your own community as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.